Power Hour. Not one of, not a, but the Fantasy Football Power Hour here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And I am so happy to be here with you hanging out for the Fantasy Football Power Hour. And it is proudly presented by the wonderful team at the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. They are open 7 days a week, including on game days, Thursday night football, Saturday when the Saturday games happen like this week, Saturday football as well as Sunday all throughout the day, and Monday night football, folks. You know where to be. The Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. If you want to stay home, you want to hang out, you want to do some things around the house, that's all right. You can call for takeout and delivery at 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat. That is 315-487-2222. Wildcat Sports Pub. Folks, make sure you get in touch with them today. Let them know the Wake Up Call sent you. Much appreciation. As always, we are inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, like I said, and it is time to get into Week 16 of the 2024-25 season. If you will accept my apologies, we have been on the road, and that's no excuse. Should have done something for you going into it, or should have done something live maybe on the road. We've had a couple weeks where we didn't bring you our fantasy football content, and my apologies to you for that. So if there's any way that we can help you right now in the playoffs, if you will accept our apologies and allow me to do that now, I'd be more than happy to help you here in fantasy football. Our goal is to bring you every single week of the season, and so we apologize that we did not do that this season. We look forward to all the games that we can bring you and all the conversations we can have as we're here in Week 16 of the 2024-25 season. It'll be my honor and my privilege to answer your fantasy football questions. So if you have them, send them over to us. You could send them to any one of our channels. You know you're hanging out with us up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt. You will also find us on our live internet streaming radio, and that is on the wonderful wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So however you're connected with the show, thank you so much for tuning in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. If you have a fantasy football question, then please make sure that you send it off to us today, and as those questions come in, we'll be happy to answer them. As always, we've had people from all over, including the wonderful islands of Hawaii. So thank you for watching and listening to Wake Up Call. NFL Week 16 is what we're getting into, and we are happy to bring that to you here today. So if you have a question on your fantasy team, send it over to us. Hopefully your fantasy is going well. I have 2 Central New York leagues that are proudly presented at the Wildcat Sports Pub, and then we have one down in Florida that we have in Orlando, and we have the Marywood University Alumni League that I started a few years ago with alumni from my alma mater of Marywood University. So in 2 of those, I am in the Final Four. So we are playing in our semis this week, as some of you may be doing here. We don't have Week 18 of the NFL that we utilize, because in Week 18, and it's something that I thought about for a while, and we started recently here to not play on that Week 18, because in reality, they sit their players in Week 18. You know, the actual teams sit their players in Week 18, so I don't want you to make it all the way to your championship game and then not have your best players because they're sitting out. So that's not really fair, right? You make it all the way to the end, you make it to the Fantasy Football Championship, and you don't have your best players out there in the Fantasy Football Championship, because in reality, in Week 18, those teams that are making the playoffs are sitting their players. So you got Pat Mahomes, but Pat Mahomes is sitting. That's not fair. So that's why we play all the way up to Week 17 as our championship, not Week 18. So we're going to get into the first games that we have here. Greg said, happy playoff semifinals week in fantasy. Yes, sir. I'm very excited to be in the semifinals in 2 of my leagues, like I said. So very much looking forward to what that can be, as many of us are in the postseason semis and the championship being next week in Week 17. So I hope you're in your playoff semis. If you are, I'm talking to you, and daily fantasy as well. For those of you that are playing in the daily fantasy world of it, you have games to break down as well. So If you have a question, send it over. We're going to get started with the first games here that we have on the docket, and those first games that we have here in our fantasy football coverage. The Thursday night football game, divisional game, Denver at the Chargers of Los Angeles. So Denver is going to head on the road to face off against the Chargers. And in this matchup, for me, looking at this game specifically, Denver, I mean, listen, Bo Nix, I've said it, I banged the drum about it before the season started. I said he was going to have arguably the second best season as a rookie quarterback behind Jaden Daniels. That was before he was even named the starter in Denver. That's how much I believed in Bo Nix, and I credit Papa Joe for helping me to have some belief in Mr. Bobo Nix. And so Bo doing his thing, Bo knows he's been doing a nice job here. Obviously, Kansas City is, in a position where they're 12-1, so there's a lot of, beyond that now. So looking at, because we're in week 16, I keep thinking, my head's like, we're only 13 weeks in, but Kansas City, being where they are right now, they're in a place, so, here looking at where everything stands right now for Kansas City, it overshadows what other teams are doing in the AFC West. Kansas City is 13-1, pardon me here, as we're in week 16, and Denver's right behind them. Denver's 9-5 this season, and just to put that into perspective, if Denver was 9-5 in the AFC South, they'd be at the top. If they were 9-5 in the AFC North, they'd be right by the top. If they were 9-5 in the NFC South, they'd be leading the division. If they were 9-5 in the NFC West, they'd be leading that division as well. So Denver in this first season with Bo Nix has done a tremendous job. It can't go unnoticed. And so I want to give a lot of respect to the work that's been done there within the Denver Broncos team. The defense has been playing strong. Bo Nix has been doing his thing. Guys getting involved all throughout the team that has created what we have today with the Denver Broncos in a 9-win season, which has been absolutely huge. So let's get into Denver first. And the Denver Broncos, for this matchup on Thursday night, I mean, when it comes to fantasy, and we look at Bo Nix most recently, if we go and look at Bo Nix numbers and how he's been doing here, in this last game that Denver played to get that fourth victory in a row, this one against the Colts, ironically, by the same score as the Army-Navy game that I was at, 31-13. Denver won this game at home, and Bo Nix was 20 of 33, 3 touchdowns. He did have 3 interceptions. He was the leading rusher, 8 carries, 23 yards for the team. He threw touchdown passes to Cortland Sutton, Adam Trotman, and Nate Adkins. Marvin Mims caught all 4 thrown his way for 20 yards in that game. Their rushing attack has still been quiet. Jaleel McLaughlin, 7 for 21. Javonte Williams, 6 for 15. Audric Esteem, 5 carries for 13 yards. So they're still trying to get that rushing attack going, but as far as passing the ball, they've been able to do some good things. In this matchup, in your semis, am I telling you to put Bo Nix out there as a QB1? No, I got him as a QB2. Like I said, their rushing attack is nothing that wows me. Cortland Sutton is worth the play. Adam Trotman, not a bad bet for you. I mean, Trotman, he only had 20 yards, caught a couple passes. I mean, I'm going to have him as a tight end too. But Cortland Sutton, he only caught 3 of the 9 thrown his way, 32 yards, but one of them was for a touchdown. I do like Cortland Sutton, though. I'm going to call him a wide receiver too in this matchup. What did Greg say? He said, Chiefs kind of only have one game of wiggle room for the number 1 seed with the Buffalo Bills right on their tail. Yeah, and the Chiefs arguably could have 2 losses this season if officials had made different calls. Definitely on one of them. Greg said, banged up Mahomes with a Saturday game and a quick turnaround Christmas Day game. That's right. Your thoughts on Wednesday, Christmas Day NFL football? I think players should be home with their families on Christmas. I mean, that's just the long and short of it. I don't think it's fair to have these Christmas Day games. I mean, well, the fans need something to watch, Dan. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I mean, we can watch something else. We can do something else with our time. I mean, we could be with our families, gosh forbid. So I think, yeah, I understand that, there's Thanksgiving football and there's Christmas football and Christmas basketball in the NBA and whatnot. But to me, it's sad. It's sad that we have those games. As much as I think it's great for the fans, it's sad for the players. Well, they make millions of dollars. It doesn't matter. Nothing substitutes time with your family. If you actually have realized in your life what the most important thing is quality time with the ones that you love that love you back, then you know that games like this don't need to be played on holidays. So how do I feel about it? I don't think it's great. I know it's premier. I know it makes the companies money and this and that, but money needs to stop taking precedence over health, safety, happiness, and time with family and time with loved ones in general. So that's how I feel about it. Chargers on the other side. Justin Herbert, if he's able to go in this game, he was limited in practice here, so you do want to monitor that, his limitations in practice, and just make sure, because this is a short week for him as well. So on a short week plus limitations in practice, he is a heck of a quarterback, throws a great ball, but do you want to put him out here in this week in your semis for fantasy? He has an ankle injury right now. If he's able to go, I do like him out there. J.K. Dobbins, like every season, is hurt again, and God willing, he'll be back soon. I can't stand seeing him get injured, so that means Gus Edwards is the main guy. Ladd McConkey is off the injury report, so if Herbert's able to go, I like McConkey as a flex wide receiver for you probably this week. And Quentin Johnston, I would say probably a wide receiver 3, especially in deep leagues. And Gus Edwards only in a flex situation when I put him out there. Denver's got a good defense, keep that in mind. So that's why I kind of temper my expectations of the Chargers, even though I do like Ladd McConkey. And really, Ladd McConkey is the one I'm looking to, and a little bit of Gus Edwards. On the Saturday game, we have Houston against the Kansas City Chiefs, the Houston Texans against the Chiefs. If you have a question, send it in. Greg sent over his thoughts. If you have ones yourself, make sure you send them over to us. We did get some come in on YouTube. So, George, I see your questions. Let me hit these first. Full PPR, need 2 between Jaden Reed and then Jennings, Jerome Ford. Okay, so let's take a look at where you are here with your team, George. So, and he has Isaac Guarendo, 49ers running back here. So, because obviously the 49ers going through injury and whatnot. So, George, to answer your questions, and George, if you are on our line here, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We appreciate you asking your question, and let us know where you're from. I always love shouting out places, so let us know where you're from, George, so we can give you a little shout out here. Always appreciate that. So make sure to subscribe, and that goes for anybody on our YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe, youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. George C. said, Jaden Reed, Isaac Guarendo. I said Greg Jennings. I think I said that was my mistake. I was thinking about the past and the Packers. I think it's Jawan Jennings of the Niners here and Jerome Ford. Just make sure you put the first names out here so that I have them so there's no confusion. So Jaden Reed is playing the Saints, okay? And then Guarendo is playing the Dolphins. And we have Jawan Jennings against the Dolphins, and Jerome Ford for Cleveland is going up against the Bengals. George, I would say, I feel good about Jaden Reed. You need to have 2 for full PPR. I would say Jaden Reed is one of them. And, I got a good feeling about Guarendo, but at the same time, the Niners, they've struggled. They've definitely struggled. They're 6-8 this season. They've been going through injuries, unfortunately. They've lost 4 of their last 5 games. They just lost to the Rams and couldn't get themselves a touchdown. They lost 12-6 in that game. So, Guarendo had 57 yards on 16 carries. It's not great. And they're going to go up against Miami. I don't necessarily think Miami has a terrorizing defense. And let's see, Guarendo, did he catch any? He caught 4 out of the backfield. Jawan Jennings caught 2 passes in this most recent game. Jerome Ford, see, it's probably between Guarendo and Ford for me in this one. I like Jaden Reed, though. George, I do like you going with Jaden Reed in this, especially because he's playing on Monday Night Football. The Chiefs just beat the Browns on the road 21-7. And in that game, Jerome Ford, 7 carries, 84 yards, and a touchdown. He also caught the 2 thrown to him out of the backfield. So, I mean, Guarendo is enticing, but I'm going to say Jaden Reed and Jerome Ford for you, George. And you said second, would I bench Tua for any of Richardson, O'Connell, Rudolph, and Cooper Rush? Would I bench Tua for Anthony Richardson? No. No, I mean, based on what you're showing me here, I would keep Tua. I mean, keep in mind, Tua is a difference maker when he's healthy and he's on the field. He definitely makes a difference in the game. So, thanks for the questions, George. If you have other questions, send them in to us, folks, and I'll be happy to answer your questions inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. You can also call for takeout and delivery at 315-487-2222. That's 315-487-2222. With that being said, we're going to take a look at the Kansas City Chiefs. And Greg said, Mike McDaniel revenge game in San Francisco. Yeah, there you go. So those ones are ones to look out for. Houston Texans at the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's take a look at the road team first. C.J. Stroud, I like him in this matchup. See, this is a game that I'm excited to see because this could be a playoff matchup. We could see Houston against Kansas City. I thought that at the beginning of the season. Who's the threat to Kansas City? I thought Houston is one of those threats. Houston has faltered at times this season, had some weird games. They're 9-5 right now, 4-1 in the AFC South, which is absolutely terrible. And again, Houston back in the day could win the AFC South, being an 8-win team overall or a 9-win team overall because the AFC South was just that bad. Jacksonville's bad, Tennessee's worse. The Colts aren't that better, so that much better. So that's why we're at where we're at. Not that Houston's not good, but Houston does not play in a tough division as of right now this season. C.J. Stroud, I like him in this game. Joe Mixon, I would say, he should be good to go. So I'm going to call Joe Mixon a running back 2 in this. I like Nico Collins in the game. I like Tank Dell in the game. Dalton Schultz as well. I'm going to call him a mid-range tight end 1 in this matchup. On the other side of it for Kansas City, Pat Mahomes is banged up, but if he's able to go, then Mahomes is the guy that you put out there. And so he opened the week with full practice. Isaiah Pacheco's back doing his thing. Kareem Hunt is there as well. This is a Saturday game, so make note of that, folks. Pacheco, I'm going to call him an RB2. Kareem Hunt, I'm going to call him a flex. Xavier Worthy has risen all the way to the number 1. I'm not surprised in the depth chart that I'm looking at right now. D-Hop, I'm going to call a 2. Xavier Worthy, I'm going to call a true flex, and I like Travis Kelce in the game. There is fantasy value on both sides, and most recently for the Kansas City Chiefs, Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco both had 13 carries. Hunt went 45, Pacheco went 32. Worthy had 3 for 30 and a touchdown rushing. Pat Mahomes, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Xavier Worthy, 6 catches, 11 targets, 46 yards for the rookie out of Texas, whose autograph and plenty of rookie cards I have if you're interested. So, I definitely like Xavier Worthy in this game. And DeAndre Hopkins caught 5 of the 6 thrown his way. Kelce caught 4 of the 8 thrown his way. And we definitely have a lot of weapons on this team once again for the Kansas City Chiefs. And hard to believe, but it's how life works sometimes, especially in sports, that Kareem Hunt is back in Kansas City. So I do see value on both sides, more so on the Kansas City side fantasy-wise. The next game that we have coming up is another Saturday game, and it's another matchup that we have here in division in these first 3 games that we're talking about. And that's the Steelers at the Ravens. The Ravens lost to the Steelers in their last game that they played against them, which was not too long ago. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 10-4 on the season, and they defeated the Ravens back. Well, I thought that was a lot sooner than it was. Man, time flies. That was 5 games ago. They won that game 18-16. where the Ravens tried to come back but did not get the 2-point conversion at the end of that game. Go back and look at it. Zay Flowers had the touchdown pass, 16 yards, ironically, 16-yard touchdown pass to get the Ravens to 16, and then the Lamar Jackson, the 2-point conversion failed after, so they didn't tie and go into overtime, and the Steelers won 18-16 in that game. Steelers defense has been good this year. They have been no slouch by any stretch of the imagination. So we have another matchup between the two, the Steelers at the Ravens. The Steelers most recently in their games, like I said, they're 10-4 right now. They just lost their game to the Eagles on the road in the battle for Pennsylvania, 27-13. And the Steelers in that matchup, Russell Wilson had a touchdown, no interceptions, 14 of 22. Najee Harris had 14 yards on the ground, which is gross. Jaylen Warren had 12 yards on the ground, which is also gross. Calvin Austin III, a guy that that in my coverage of the Memphis Tigers know who Calvin Austin is, interviewed him while he was at Memphis in college. 5 targets, caught all 5. Freiermuth got a touchdown in the game. So, I mean, and then outside of that, Mike Williams, not much. Najee Harris, not much. Jaylen Warren, not much. Cordero Patterson, not much in the game as well. So for the Pittsburgh Steelers in this matchup, fantasy football-wise, I would say, if you want to put Najee out there in a deep league as a running back too, I'm not really sold on Najee right now this season. George Pickens is in a place right now where he is... Let me take a look at George Pickens here. He is on the injury report currently right now, just so you know. And so being on that injury report currently, Calvin Austin III, he stepped up this past week and has some value. Pat Freiermuth has some value. I would call Freiermuth a tight end 1 this week. I'm going to give him a mid-range, maybe a little higher tight end 1. George Pickens is questionable with a hamstring injury, so just watch that. Calvin Austin III, if you want to flex him out as a wide receiver 3 or 4, I'm okay with that. I don't see a ton of fantasy value with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's their defense that helps him out, but Baltimore is seeking revenge. They're at home for this revenge game. I like Lamar Jackson. I like Derrick Henry. I like Zay Flowers, and I like Mark Andrews in the game as well. Isaiah likely, he's still getting involved in this offense, which is good to see, but Mark Andrews, I'm going to give him the slight edge in fantasy over Isaiah Likely, and let's see what they can do in this game. Before we take a step aside, coming out of these games that are on Thursday and 2 on Saturday, let's hit this Giants at Falcons game. The Giants at the Falcons, folks. The Giants are in a position right now where they're going to be drafting in the top 2 and could be taking a quarterback. Daniel Jones is no longer there. Drew Lock is still there. Tommy DeVito's still there. But on the other side of it, we look at their quarterback situation, and Hot Atlanta brought in Kirk Cousins, and then they drafted Michael Penix Jr., number 8 overall. I had Michael Penix Jr. going in the first round, but I didn't have him going to a team that had got a 4-year contract and giving at least $100 million to Kirk Cousins. But that insurance policy that they had with bringing in Kirk Cousins and also having the Michael Penix Jr. move, that for a situation like this can prove to be helpful. Why? Because the Atlanta Falcons are shifting to Michael Penix Jr. in his rookie season. He's been sitting and watching, and now he's the guy. Drew Lock is questionable with a heel injury. Tommy DeVito, concussion, makes him questionable. God willing, they'll both be okay, and everyone who's going through an injury, by the grace of God, will be okay. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, I pray for us all. For you listening and watching, too, that if you have a prayer on your mind, something on your heart, God willing, we'll all be okay, including Miss Sophie and Melinda. God bless to you all. So Tim Boyle could end up being the quarterback in this. Tyrone Tracy Jr., I like in this game. Malik Neighbors, I mean, it depends on who the heck is throwing the ball to him. And you got Daniel Jones is no longer on the team. Drew Lock is on the injury report, and Tommy DeVito's on the injury report. So as we look at things right now, this is not a great situation for the New York Giants, who are struggling already this season. So, Giants at the quarterback position, definitely looking like they're going to be drafting somebody here. And I mean, this is interesting. Definitely interesting here for the Giants quarterback scenario. And yeah, I mean, whoever starts for this one, I like Tyrone Tracy Jr. at running back. And then on the other side for the Atlantic Falcons, Michael Penix Jr. I mean, he's playing the Giants. He might have himself a day. If you can flex out a quarterback, maybe this is a guy that you take a flyer on and use him as your secondary quarterback. I wouldn't say that he's, going to be, well, he's playing. This is the tough part. It's the semis of fantasy football in your league, right? It's the semifinals. You're trying to win a championship. The Central New York Fantasy Football Leagues for Wake Up Call, the one down in Florida, the one for our Marywood alumni. You're trying to win a championship. And in your quest to win a championship, Michael Penix Jr. is enticing because, there's film on him at Washington, but he hasn't played a game in the NFL. He's playing against an awful team, and he's playing at home. So, and he's talented. Dude, like, if you go back and watch some film on him, you see the ball in his hand, and then it's like out of his hand and flying down the field at this rapid pace far down the field. So Michael Penix Jr., not a bad bet. If you can use two quarterbacks, I'd put him as your second. I'm going to call him a low-end 1, high-end 2. And people say, well, why would you even talk to him about being a low-end 1? Because of the fact that he's playing the Giants. I like Bijan Robinson in the game. I like Drake London in the game. I like Tyler Algier in the game. Kyle Pitts, I mean, he's playing the Giants, so maybe this is the week you put Kyle Pitts out there as well. Because this team is just the Giants. I thought the Giants were bad a few seasons ago. They're worse now. And honestly, like I said, I mean, it's fantasy football playoffs, so I don't want to be like, yeah, lean on the guy who hasn't played a game in the NFL. I'm just letting you know, and I want to go on record as saying Michael Penix might go off in this game because he's been waiting. He's really talented. He's really talented, 1. He's been waiting, 2. 3, he's playing a terrible, terrible team. So I think this might be a good day for Michael Penix. I don't want your fantasy championship to rely on a rookie quarterback in his first start, but if you can play 2 quarterbacks, it might be worth a look. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break on Wake Up Call. We'll be back after this inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, right here for you, Week 16 of the 2024-25 NFL season. You got a question, send it to us. Happy to answer. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student-athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9 K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to K9 Campground.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, is your one-stop sports card and trading card shop. And as we're sitting here talking about fantasy football, what better way to be connected to your favorite players and your favorite team than going to GG Cards and Breaks and going to get those singles, those packs, those boxes. By the way, they have 2024 certified. I found some crazy, amazing stuff in my 2024 certified box that I opened from GG Cards and Breaks. Thanks to Anthony Campbell for putting the love with it. He has had the Midas touch for sure. And so make sure you get yourself over to GG Cards and Breaks. You'll find your football as well as basketball, baseball, soccer, hockey, Disney Lorcana, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, all on site, on location at GG Cards and Breaks while supplies last. You never know what's coming in. They got new product finding its way into 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York all the time. So you do not want to miss a moment. They're also the only place that I know that has every MLB, every NFL, and every NBA team with their own box right there on the back wall for you. So whoever you're a fan of, whatever team you love, whatever players you love, you could go right back there to the back wall. And in my case, I'm an Arizona Diamondback, Jacksonville Jaguar, Toronto Raptor. What store can I go to that's going to have all of that in one place? Take those boxes out, look through them, and they're not just base cards, folks. They're rookie cards. There's some autographs in there. There's some patch cards in there, some numbered cards in there. You don't want to miss all of the great things that are in those boxes, in the new arrivals box, in all of the cases, and in the packs and boxes that you'll be opening at GG Cards and Breaks. It is also the perfect place to go and buy a gift for Christmas and your holiday season. So head out to GG Cards and Breaks Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6 and on Sundays from 10 to 5 there on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. And I appreciate everybody that has gone out there and trusted us here on Wake Up Call with GG Cards and Breaks and all of our partners when we tell you who we believe can truly provide for you awesome service, awesome product, and, you know, above all, just be kind and be good in this community. I love Central and Upstate New York. I love our partners down in North Carolina as well. We've done work in Florida and in Pennsylvania, and I feel very blessed and privileged to do that. We don't just work with anybody. We work with the good ones. And so make sure you go and see them, including GG Cards and Breaks, all throughout the week. and all throughout the year. You won't be disappointed. And God bless and thanks to you all that listen to us here on the show and trust us. And God bless and thanks to those that have believed in me, including all of our partners that we have here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. With that being said, we're going to continue the conversation here as we go through the 2024-25 season's Week 16 here in the NFL, a.k.a. for a lot of you, the playoff semifinals in fantasy football. So with those semifinals being right here with us, folks, it is time to get to our next game. If you have a question, make sure you send it in. Thanks for the ones we've gotten already. Next game is going to be the Cardinals and the Panthers. The Cardinals have been an enigma, and so have the Panthers. Panthers haven't been great. But the Panthers also have moments where they done some good things, and Arizona's the same way. Arizona hasn't been great, but Arizona's also done some good things at certain times this season, which is confusing for everybody because you're like, okay, Arizona's got a lot of talent, but they're not really figuring it out. Carolina, you're like, okay, they're the worst team in the league last year, could be the worst team in the league this year, but there's moments where they're not. Arizona's 7-7 right now. They're in third place of the NFC West. Carolina, in their division, has been eliminated from the postseason already. They're 3-11. Now, there's teams that have been eliminated from postseason play. The Jets have been eliminated. The Patriots have been eliminated, both from the AFC East. The AFC North, the Browns have been eliminated. From the AFC South, the Jaguars and the Titans have been eliminated. In the AFC West, the Raiders have been eliminated. In the NFC, the Giants of the NFC East have been eliminated. In the NFC North, the Chicago Bears have been eliminated. In the NFC South, the Carolina Panthers. Nobody from the NFC West. It's all still because they're not that great of records going on in there. The Rams are 8-6. The Seahawks are 8-6. The Cardinals are 7-7, and the Niners are 6-8. So they're very much all there. If you have a question for your fantasy team, make sure you send it over to me here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. So we appreciate your questions. Continue to send those questions in. Happy to answer them on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com and our internet streaming radio. These are all worldwide. So for those of you in central and upstate New York, welcome. Up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the world, we appreciate you watching and listening to Wake Up Call Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. With that being said, as we go into this game, the irony here, the Carolina Panthers a couple of years ago made a trade with last season made a trade for the 2023 number 1 overall pick with the Chicago Bears. And with that pick, they took Bryce Young. Hasn't worked out so far for them last season or this season, where they sat him for Andy Dalton for a bit. Chicago Bears, well, they benefited from giving that up because they got Carolina's pick this year, which was the number 1 overall pick. They also took a quarterback, Caleb Williams, and that hasn't worked out. So the last two teams to have a number 1 overall pick and in trade with each other to have these number 1 overall picks, the Carolina Panthers hasn't worked out. They're eliminated from the playoffs. The Chicago Bears hasn't worked out. They're eliminated from the playoffs. The Chicago Bears defense has done some good things, but at 4-10 overall, they have definitely struggled this season. Between Carolina and Chicago, 7 wins, 21 losses. So just kind of interesting there that the Carolina Panthers traded with the Bears to get the number 1 overall pick in 2023. They take Bryce Young, and this year, because Carolina was the worst team, they traded some of their future stuff to the Chicago Bears. Chicago gets the number 1 pick and the number 9 pick because they got the pick from Carolina, number 1 overall, or else Carolina would have had number 1 2 years in a row. Well, they wouldn't have because they traded it. But Carolina, being the worst team in the NFL, would have had the number 1 pick this year. Instead, it goes to Chicago. They get the 1 and the 9. They get Caleb Williams and then wide receiver Rome Odunze. These two teams that traded for that number 1 pick for Carolina to have it, and then Carolina giving it back accidentally by being the worst team in the NFL and giving up their first-round pick, which went to Chicago, which ended up being number 1 overall. Those two number 1 overall picks haven't panned out in immediate success, but keep in mind, folks, things take time. Caleb Williams, we'll see. I wasn't sold on him coming in. He is talented. I just wasn't sold on the overall package. And Bryce Young, I was never sold on. I hope that it works out. This isn't a personal attack. I want to see both succeed. I want to see both do well. When I say, they haven't had good seasons and this didn't pan out and I didn't have a lot of, I didn't think, if it was me, I wouldn't have drafted Bryce Young. And then Caleb Williams, I wasn't sold on him either, even though he's talented. That's not me personally trying to knock either one of these guys. I'm saying, looking at it from my standpoint as a broadcaster, I wasn't sold on either one of these quarterbacks, and things haven't worked out in the first 2 seasons for Bryce Young at Carolina. Hasn't worked out in the rookie season for Caleb Williams in Chicago. I do want to temper people's expectations because it takes time with rookie quarterbacks. Very rarely does somebody come on and play well right off the bat. Peyton Manning had a horrible first season in the NFL. So that's something to look at and it's something to think about. I hope it works out for both of these guys, and I hope it works out for both of these franchises. Carolina's been down for a long time since Cam Newton brought him to the Super Bowl. And beyond that, I mean, we're looking at the fact that the Chicago Bears, it's felt like forever that the Chicago Bears have done anything. So, the Carolina Panthers reached the Super Bowl twice, which is 2 more than the Jacksonville Jaguars did, who came out in the same year in 1995. So, just something to look at. So, I mean, Carolina and Chicago hopefully will figure things out sooner than later. The game that we're going to go, or the conversation here with Arizona, do you play Kyler Murray against Carolina? I mean, I would say yes. But again, Kyler Murray himself has been an enigma this season. His team has been, and he's their quarterback, and he's been a part of this, obviously. And, I mean, they just won over the Patriots 30-17. The Patriots are awful this season. They're eliminated from the playoffs, and they're 3-11. Kyler Murray didn't throw a touchdown pass in that game, though. Think about that. He didn't throw a touchdown pass in that game. James Conner had 2 touchdowns on the ground. There was no receiving touchdowns in the game. Arizona's 30 points in that game against New England, it came off of a field goal, a fumble recovery early on, another field goal in the first half, then a field goal in the third quarter, and then the 2 James Conner touchdowns in the fourth quarter. That's where Arizona's scoring came from. So Kyler Murray, even in a game where they win 30-17, he doesn't throw a touchdown pass. So that's why I'm like, should you play him against Carolina? Maybe. Do I want to trust him to be my fantasy semifinal, get me to the championship quarterback? No. So I'm going to call him a quarterback. I'm going to call him a low-end 1, high-end 2. Probably a high-end 2. James Conner I like in the game. Marvin Harrison Jr., I would love for this dude to get the ball more. I said that he shouldn't go to Arizona. I didn't want him to go to Arizona because I was like, if Kyler Murray can't figure it out with DeAndre Hopkins, who's no longer there anymore, then, I mean, at the time that they got D-Hop for David Johnson, that was a total lopsided trade. It was ridiculous. And to me, Kyler Murray's got D-Hop. You should be able to get it done. He had Christian Kirk, too, who's been a great possession receiver for Jacksonville when healthy. So if you can't do it with D-Hop and things aren't happening with Christian Kirk, I just didn't see Marvin Harrison Jr., no matter how talented he is, if Kyler Murray isn't getting it done with wide receivers on the team before Marvin, how's he going to get it done with Marvin? And that's proved true. He hasn't been. It's been very quiet. And yeah, maybe some of it's on Marvin and maybe some of it's on Kyler, but it's been really quiet. And there's something to be said about the fact that Kyler Murray got D-Hop when D-Hop was arguably the number 1 wide receiver in the nation of all wide receivers of 32 NFL franchises. And he goes to Arizona, and it's a very short time that he spends there, and really nothing gets done. So, I mean, I want to tell you Marvin Harrison Jr., but I don't trust Kyler Murray. So I'll call Marvin Harrison a wide receiver 4 this week. Trey McBride, I like Trey McBride too. He had 10 targets. Kyler's been going to him. I thought he would have a great rookie season, and he had a quiet rookie season, but he's definitely stepped up since then. I saw something in him. He was the number 1 tight end chosen in his draft a couple of years ago, and seeing where he's at right now, I mean, Trey McBride, for me, the guy that I was hoping he would be as a rookie, he's stepping into now. So I like Trey McBride in the game. I'm going to call him a tight end 2, low end 1. I'm going to call him a mid-range 1 because Kyler throws to him a lot. So I'll call him a mid-range 1. I like James Conner in the game. Marvin Harrison is a wide receiver 4. On the other side of it, Chuba Hubbard, there's a bunch of injured. Miles Sanders is injured again. Jonathan Brooks, who's their rookie, he's injured. So it's just been terrible. Chuba Hubbard, if you want to flex out a running back and you need an extra guy and you got guys that are injured. But honestly, hopefully, as I always say, everyone gets healthy and stays well on and off the field. The same thing goes for the Carolina Panthers, who have so many injuries going on right now and not a lot to write home about. If you're hoping in the Arizona-Carolina game to save your fantasy season, I feel very bad for you. As far as Detroit goes, I told you these divisional games are a pain in the butt to play. I don't care what throw the records out. When you got rivalries and you have divisional matchups, throw the records out, because the Chicago Bears played them to a 23-20 game, and that game was in Detroit. Now this game is in Chicago, and Detroit is coming to town. Detroit is 12-2. I've told you from the beginning of the season that I believe Detroit is a Super Bowl caliber team this season. I thought that they had a road to it last year as well, and I think they might be better this year. So I like Jared Goff in the game. I like Jahmyr Gibbs. I like, and unfortunately, David Montgomery he has an MCL injury, so he's not playing in this game. So Craig Reynolds, if you want to flex somebody out. But I like Jahmyr Gibbs in the game. Amon-Ra St. Brown. I like Jamison Williams. I'm going to call him a wide receiver 3. My issue with Jamison Williams is, this guy has been given so many opportunities that people would work their absolute tails off to have. And, there's thousands and thousands of wide receivers that would love to play in the NFL. And Jamison Williams got injured, and that's not his fault. But then, he's been suspended more than once, and he's only been in the NFL for a very short amount of time. So I don't like that. I like Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jamison Williams, I'm going to call him a wide receiver 3, and I like Sam Laporta in this game as well. On Chicago's side of things, they do have talent on paper, but is that talent the talent that we can rely on and trust in? Alejandro, I saw your message here, so we're going to get to your question here in a second on who you should start. So Alejandro, if you haven't, make sure that you subscribe if you haven't. So make sure to subscribe, and that's to anybody watching and listening. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Subscribe there today. You can also follow us on Facebook at wakeupcalldt, X at calldt, and Instagram at wakeupcall_DT for 24/7 opportunities to connect with us as well. DeAndre Swift, 11 carries, 39 yards. Not much to write home about. DJ Moore had a touchdown. Keenan Allen had 2 touchdowns last time that they played Detroit, so that's something to look to. Most recently for Chicago. So, Keenan Allen got involved and DJ Moore got involved. Their game that they just had against the Vikings, they lost 30-12. And looking at that game for Chicago, DeAndre Swift, he had a pretty good day. Keenan Allen had a good day as well. DJ Moore got involved. So I'd probably say those 3 guys. They had something when they played Detroit before. So DeAndre, I'll call him a running back 2. DeAndre Swift, DJ Moore, and Keenan Allen. I'll call them both wide receiver 2s in a game like this. Keep in mind it is a divisional game, and these divisional games are very, very deeply rooted. I think the NFC North, divisional-wise, they have some of the best punch-down, drag-out fights, and they just had one between these two teams. They're going to have another one again, I think. I see fantasy value on both sides for this. Tennessee at the Colts. Tennessee is eliminated. The Colts are not yet, but neither one of these teams has had a good season. Alejandro said, let's see what you got. Who should I start? Need a flex and a wide receiver too. Brian Thomas. So you got Brian Thomas from the Jaguars, Malik Neighbors, Garrett Wilson. So you need a flex. So not Malik Neighbors. And Brian Thomas has a franchise record of receiving yards for a Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver in their first season in the NFL. So I'm going to say Brian Thomas Jr. and Garrett Wilson. Thank you for the question, Alejandro. If you have other questions, feel free to send them in. Tennessee at Indianapolis. Let's go to the Titans at the Colts, folks. And Titans at the Colts. I'll go first with the Titans. The Titans don't have a lot for me to say. They just don't. And it's sad. I mean, the Titans, it's sad because, I mean, the Titans go out there and they draft Malik Willis out of Liberty. And I had watched him play twice, 2 games at the Dome. And I thought to myself, okay, you know, like Malik Willis, I wasn't sold on Malik Willis because Syracuse took it to him. I thought it was great for Dino Babers and the Syracuse Orange that all those recruits came, or all those NFL scouts came in the building. You had over 20 teams there at the Dome, and you thought they were watching Malik Willis. The great thing about it is they got to see the Syracuse Orange players do their thing, Sean Tucker and the crew. So, I mean, for Tennessee, Mason Rudolph is the quarterback now. He's the starter. Will Levis has lost the starting job. Think about this. They had Ryan Tannehill. They took the job away from him, gave it to, seemingly we're going to give it to Malik Willis. Took it away from Malik, gave it to Will Levis. Took it away from Will, gave it to Mason Rudolph. So in the last, less than 2 calendar years, we have seen 4 quarterbacks start by losing. We've seen a starter come in because they have taken the job from somebody else. So they've having a starter lose their job. We saw Will Levis lose his job, Malik Willis lose his job, and Ryan Tannehill lose his job. So not saying a lot for a Tennessee team that is definitely floundering, and definitely shows you and echoes through the chambers here something that I have said before, which was firing Mike Vrabel was a big did I have enough? Big mistake. In case Tennessee didn't realize that by now. Big freaking mistake. Stupid. They lost to the Bengals most recently at home 37-27. And Tony Pollard had a touchdown, 17 carries, 45 yards. Tajay Spears thrown to 7 times, caught 6, 87 yards out of the backfield, and a touchdown. That's something. Coming from Mason Rudolph, 21-26 in the game. Will Levis was 8 of 12 and threw 3 interceptions. So technically he was 11 of 12. He just threw 3 of those completions to the wrong team. So, I mean, you could say he was 11 of 12. So, but yeah, Tony Pollard, running back 3, Tajay Spears, great for a flex, especially in a PPR. That's what I would say about Tennessee. Indianapolis, I mean, they've had a wild season themselves. You know, they draft Anthony Richardson last year. He gets hurt. He doesn't really get to play that much at all. And then you go to this season and you say Anthony Richardson's back. This is so great. They bring in Joe Flacco. They bench Anthony Richardson. They start Joe Flacco over him. Then Anthony Richardson comes back in, and Anthony Richardson recently here in the loss to the Broncos 31-13, 17 of 38. That means he had 21 incompletions. They're not all his fault, I'm sure. I'm sure some things happened there, but 21 incompletions, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Jonathan Taylor had over 100 yards rushing. It's good to see that again. Michael Pittman getting involved, Kylan Granson, and so on and so forth. They're playing Tennessee. So this is, you know, if you're going to play Anthony Richardson any week of the season, it would be this week. I still got him as a low-end 1 at quarterback. I like Jonathan Taylor in the game. Michael Pittman Jr., I like him in this game. Josh Downs, if you want to flex somebody out, I'd look to him as well. So, yeah, I mean, I think Michael Pittman and Jonathan Taylor are good bets for you, especially because Tennessee is the team that the Colts are going up against, and Tennessee is so bad. And Mike Vrabel letting him go was did you hear it? Mistake. Rams at the Jets. Let's go to the Rams at the Jets. The Jets are out of the postseason. The Rams are still fighting for a postseason berth because the Rams, A, haven't had a terrible season, and B, their division's awful. The NFC West, as I said weeks ago, is arguably the worst division in football of the 8 divisions in the NFL. And, well, Dan, why would you call it the worst division? Because everyone is still alive at this point, because no one has really been head and shoulders above anybody, and no one's really won a lot of games. The best record in the NFC West is 8-6, and that's what the Rams are. The Rams are playing the Jets. I like Matt Stafford in the game. I like Kyron Williams in the game. I like Puka Nacua in the game. I like Cooper Kupp in the game as well. For the Jets, I don't really like anybody. So, but I would say if I had to pick anyone, and I mean, Aaron Rodgers, I like Garrett Wilson. I do like Garrett Wilson. And I like Breece Hall. You know, they're not terrible. They're good. It's just this team is terrible. They just beat a terrible team to end a 4-game losing streak. And that was the Jaguars on the road, 32-25. In just an awful game. You know, well, I shouldn't say an awful game. Jacksonville actually got to 25 points. And Mac Jones hasn't been terrible for them. Aaron Rodgers, he had 3 touchdowns, no picks in the game. Devontae Adams went nuts. 9 catches, 12 targets, 198 yards, 2 touchdowns. Dude is sick. So I like Devontae Adams in the game. I like Garrett Wilson in the game. I like Breece Hall in the game. The Rams, Aaron Rodgers, I'm going to say Aaron Rodgers, since you haven't been able to really lean on him this season. I'm going to call Aaron Rodgers a low-end quarterback 1. I'm going to call Matty Stafford a mid-range quarterback 1 for this matchup. The next game that we have here is a divisional matchup in the NFC East, and this is a big game here for us, folks, because you got 2 teams here that are trying to lock things up for themselves. When we take a look at the standings in the NFL right now, playoff-wise, in the NFC East, the Eagles have clinched a playoff spot. They are now above the Commanders, who were leading the NFC East for a bit. The Eagles are 12-2, believe it or not. And it kind of feels like they flew under the radar, pun fully intended. And the Commanders are 9-5. This is a massive game between these 2 teams. Because if Washington loses, well, they're hoping for a wild card. If Washington wins, they got a fighting shot of maybe turning the tide on some things here. They played the Eagles earlier this season and they lost 26-18. They can't afford to lose the head-to-head against them. They have to win this game. So the Eagles are coming to town, going to Washington, D.C., going to Northwest Stadium, where I just was this past week for the Army-Navy game. Shout out to D.C., shout out to Landover, Maryland, pardon me, and to everybody out there, and to Army and Navy, and to the Washington Commanders for having a very beautiful home. I had a great time there, so thanks to the Washington Commanders. I appreciate the Army-Navy game being there. In this game, I like Jalen Feels So Good It Hurts, and I like Saquon Barkley. I like A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. I like them all. Put them all out there. Yeah, and then as far as Washington goes, Jaden Daniels, man, this guy's had some heroics, so I like him. Terry McLaurin, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is, dude balls out, so I like Terry McLaurin as well in the game. They won most recently on the road at the Saints, 20-19, a very close game. And the Saints have not been a good team this year, so that's something to look at. Brian Robinson had 21 carries. He took it 65 yards. He did not score. Terry McLaurin had 2 touchdowns most recently. So Brian Robinson Jr., I'm going to have to call him a running back 2 in this, but I do see some value in him, definitely in Terry McLaurin and Jaden Daniels. The next matchup that we have that's coming over to you here is going to be in the AFC North. These are games that are typically close. They used to be played in the 30s in shootouts with little to no defense. Browns at the Bengals. The Browns and the Bengals going to face off against each other, and the Browns are the first team we're going to talk about. The Cleveland Don't Call Me Browns went up against the Bengals earlier this season. They lost 21-14 at home. Now they're on the road in Cincinnati. They just lost most recently, like I said earlier, to the Kansas City Chiefs, and losing to the Kansas City Chiefs 21-7 at home. Cleveland did. Jameis Winston was in there. Dorian Thompson-Robinson was in at quarterback as well. Jerome Ford had a touchdown, 7 carries, 84 yards, 12 yards a carry. Nick Chubb, 9 carries for 41 yards. Not great. Jerry Jeudy, 11 catches on 14 targets, 108 yards for the former Denver Bronco. So some good stuff there for him. In this game for Cleveland at Cincinnati, Cleveland hasn't had a good season. Cincinnati hasn't had a good season either. I mean, you look at Baltimore's, people look to Baltimore and say Baltimore's going to be the team. And now Pittsburgh's, people are twitching in the AFC North thinking that Ben Roethlisberger's the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers again, with the Pittsburgh Steelers at the top of this AFC North. For the Cleveland Browns, who do I like? Jerome Ford. I like him. Nick Chubb is back on the injury report with that foot injury. He's on injured reserve. So Jerome Ford, God willing, Nick Chubb will be healthy, stay healthy, and we'll get to see him for a full season. I do like Jerome Ford and Jerry Jeudy in the game on the other side of it for Cincinnati. The Cincinnati Bengals, they've had a rough go at it this season for sure, and unfortunately, they have not looked that great. They're 6-8 right now, and so they're 6-8. Baltimore's 9-5. Pittsburgh's 10-4. Cleveland's 3-11. Most recently, the Bengals won at the Titans, as I mentioned, 37-27 in that game on the road. The Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions against Tennessee. Chase Brown had a touchdown and 97 yards. I told you all at the beginning of the season that he was a rookie last year. Why would you get rid of him a few weeks into the season this year? Well, Danny's not getting the ball. He's not playing that great. And I'm like, yeah, it's too early in the season to get rid of him. Give the man some time. He was a rookie last year, and he's been having a good last few weeks, so hopefully you listen to me and kept him. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins doing work. Chase Brown caught a touchdown out of the backfield as well. So in this matchup against Cleveland, I like Joe Burrow. I like Chase Brown. I like Jamar Chase. I like T. Higgins in this matchup. I'm tempering my expectations of Joe Burrow a little bit because this is the semifinals of the fantasy football playoffs once again for a lot of us, and just a little concerned because Joey Burrow, he's been up and down this year. So just makes me a little bit concerned about that. We got something coming in here. Summer said, semifinals need help. All right, Summer, send me your message. What do you got for me? Let me know what you need help with, Summer. So send me your questions. Okay, so we got Bo Nix or Sam Darnold, Neighbors or McLaurin, Laporta or Bowers. Ooh, Laporta or Bowers. That's probably the toughest one for me to answer. Laporta or Bowers. Bowers is playing the Jaguars at home, and Laporta is playing the Bears on the road. That's tough. Half PPR. Okay. Nix or Darnold. Darnold's playing Seattle on the road. Okay, so Summer, just so you know, if you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. We appreciate you being here. So let me answer your questions here. I'm going to say Darnold over Nix this week. I'm definitely going to say McLaurin over Neighbors, because who knows who Neighbors is going to have thrown to him. And Laporta or Bowers, that is so tough. Oh, that is so tough. Let me get to my point on Joe Burrow for a second here, and then we'll get into this. Joe Burrow this season, taking a look at his games, started off the season, no touchdowns, no interceptions, then 2 touchdown interception, 2-0, then 3-0, 2-1, 5-1, which was against Baltimore in an overtime loss. The game was nuts. Then 0-0, 2-0, 1-1, 5-1 again when he faced off against the Raiders, and he won that game. And then we have 4-0, 3-0, 3-1, 3-1, 3-2. So he's been better off lately. I don't like those 2 interceptions most recently if you lose points for that. But he's thrown at least 3 touchdown passes in his last... Wow. He's thrown at least 3 touchdown passes in all of his last 6 games. So, all right. I feel better about Joe Burrow. Let's keep him at a QB1. I was just tempering my expectations a little bit, but I like Joe Burrow. He's playing Cleveland. You never know what's going to happen in these divisional games, like I said, so that's just something to watch. The next game I'm going to is going to be Minnesota at Seattle, which is perfect timing, Summer, because you asked me about Sam Darnold. But let me get to Laporta and whether or not you should put Laporta or Bowers out there. So, looking at Sam Laporta this season, and I really like both of these tight ends. That's why this is a hard decision for me to make. Laporta has 5 touchdowns this season at the tight end position. Now, Laporta, most recently on December 15th, my grandmother's birthday, shout out G-Mama in heaven, God bless. He had 10 targets, caught 7, and had 111 yards against the Bills. That's crazy. He's scored in 4 games this season. He didn't score in the last 2 games. So that's Sam Laporta. Jonnu Smith is another good one. And then Brock Bowers, Summer, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't. For Brock Bowers and what he's done this season, taking a look at Brock, he's leading the Raiders in receiving. He has 968 yards as a rookie. 968 yards. He's leading all of the receivers for the Vegas Raiders, and he's a tight end. He has 4 touchdowns this season to the 5 from Sam Laporta. Brock Bowers, he has most recently 6 targets, 3 catches, 35 yards. He has scored in 4 games this season as well. He also hasn't scored in the last 2 games. Against Kansas City, he had 14 targets. He caught 10 for 140 yards and a touchdown in a 19-17 loss at Kansas City, the team that's won multiple Super Bowls. So that's saying something about Brock Bowers. Sam Laporta, Brock. I'm going to say Brock Bowers. I'm going to say Bowers. Summer. I'm going to say Bowers over Laporta, but kudos to you that you got them both. I don't know how you did it, but congratulations, because that's huge. Let's do our Minnesota game at Seattle. The Minnesota Vikings, we're going to go to them first here. The Vikings at the Seattle Seahawks. We're going to go to Minnesota. Now, Sam Darnold, I want to take a look at his numbers. Sam Darnold, and I told you all throughout the season that Minnesota is a playoff team. They're 12-2 right now. They're 12-2 with Sam Darnold. Remember Sam Darnold got drafted by the Jets? Remember the Jets couldn't protect him? He was the sacrificial lamb for the Jets, was he not? The Jets let him go to Carolina. Sacrificial lamb. We're not winning with Sam Darnold. Must be his fault. We're not winning with Mark Sanchez. Before that, must be his fault. Mark Sanchez went to back-to-back AFC postseason game. Didn't he go back-to-back AFC championship games? So, you look at Mark Sanchez and him being the sacrificial lamb, and then you look at the Sam Darnold situation. And that's just awful. That, I feel like they get blamed for this. I feel like they're the ones that are the sacrificial lambs, yet look at, Mark Sanchez made it to the AFC Championship game in back-to-back years, 2010 and 2011. Yeah, I was right on that. And then Sam Darnold, look at what he's doing in Minnesota. They're like, oh, J.J. McCarthy can't play this year. I guess we're going to bring in somebody. We'll see how he does. They're 12-2. 12-2, folks. So I like Sam Darnold. I like Aaron Jones. I like Justin Jefferson. I like Jordan Addison. I like T.J. Hawkinson in this game. I know they're on the road at Seattle, but I still like those guys. Kenneth Walker III, he's questionable with a calf injury. If he's able to go, I'm going to call him a running back 2. Zach Charbonnet, I'm going to call a 3. DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith and Jigba. Tyler Lockett's kind of gotten lost in this whole thing, unfortunately. And I hope that he resurrects his career and that he continues to do well and have success here. The Packers' most recent loss for Seattle was at home, 30-13 to the Packers. And in that game, Charbonnet, 8 carries, 54 yards, and a touchdown. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 10 catches, 12 targets, 83 yards. DK, 3 targets, 3 catches, 28 yards. So I still like, I like Minnesota's defense. I might look at playing Minnesota's defense and special teams in this game. But I do like DK, and I like Jackson Smith and Jigba. Kenneth Walker the third if he's able to go. If not, Zach Charbonnet. I'm going to call him a low end 2, high end 3 at running back. The next matchup that we have here, this used to be a big old game. This used to be a big old game. Now it's a team trying to win a Super Bowl versus a team that's not going to be in the playoffs this year. That's the Patriots, won't be. Buffalo's trying to win it. And then Summer said Minnesota or Arizona defense. Oh, that's tough. I'm probably going to say Arizona defense just because they're playing Carolina. Thank you for all the questions, Summer. And like I said, make sure that you subscribe. Patriots at the Bills. The New England Patriots not having a good year by any stretch of the imagination. Do they, early on in the draft, do they draft Travis Hunter, the two-way player? We shall see. Something on my mind, something to talk about. Looking at the Patriots' most recent game here, the Patriots have lost 4 in a row and 5 of the last 6. They just lost to the Cardinals on the road 30-17. And Drake May had 19 of 23. He's been playing well at quarterback. Completion percentage is good. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Ramondre Stevenson, 13 carries, 69 yards, 5.3 yards a carry. Not bad. Drake May had a touchdown on the ground. 4 carries, 14 yards, 1 for a touchdown. Nothing to write home about as far as receiving-wise goes. Demario Douglas got a touchdown, though. So, I mean, in this game against the Bills, Ramondre Stevenson, if you want to put him as a low-end running back 2 or a high-end 3, I'm okay with that. Demario Douglas, if you need some help and you're in a deep league, maybe you want to flex him out. On the side of the Buffalo Bills, I'm saying play the house. I'm saying Josh Allen, James Cook, Khalil Shakir, Amari Cooper, Dalton Kincaid. I think they're all worth the play in this game because they're playing the Patriots. And if the Patriots made Arizona look good without Kyler Murray throwing a single touchdown, what's it going to look like when they're playing arguably the best quarterback in the nation, Josh Allen? Something to think about. Josh Allen in their win on the road at the Lions, which is massive. This could be, this is a team that can make the Super Bowl versus a team that can make the Super Bowl this year. The Bills beat the Lions 48-42. This was a statement game by the Buffalo Bills. They're 11-3. They handed Detroit their second loss of the season. Detroit's 12-2. Ty Johnson got involved here. 5 catches, 5 targets, 114 yards. Keon Coleman had 1 catch, 2 targets for 64 yards. So, for the Buffalo Bills, I mean, Amari Cooper, he was a non-factor in this game. He might be a factor in this. I don't know. I feel like if you want to flex him out, I got a feeling about him. That's a little bit, But I like James Cook. I like Josh Allen. I like Dalton Kincaid, Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman. I'd put Keon Coleman as a wide receiver 3. I'd put Amari Cooper as a wide receiver 4. But I'm getting the feeling that they're going to have some guys in the end zone this week, and this might be a big scoring game for Buffalo. So what I believe is that Buffalo is going to have a lot of different people being involved in fantasy. So I think that there's a bunch of different ones worth the play. But I feel the best about Josh Allen, Dalton Kincaid, James Cook. The Jaguars at the Raiders. The Jaguars didn't have a bad game against the Jets. 2 3-11 teams playing each other, or 3-10 teams playing each other at the time. Jaguars are now 3-11. The Jets are 4-10. Jaguars with their backup quarterback Mac Jones still scored 25 points. They lost 32-25, but they put points up on the board, so that's good. Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, both had double-digit carries. Travis, 14 for 65, 4.6 yards a carry. Tank, 11 for 42, 3.8 yards a carry. Brian Thomas Jr. continues to be a beast. Brenton Strange, 11 targets, caught 12 from Mac Jones. Keep in mind, every quarterback has their guy. Brenton Strange, 73 yards, 11 catches. Fantastic for the PPR world. So, for the Jaguars and Mac Jones this week, they're playing the Raiders, and the Raiders are currently the worst team in football. So, and Jacksonville is not. So I'm going to say Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby. I'm going to call Travis a running back 2, Tank a running back 3, a flex out guy, low end 2, high end 3. Brian Thomas Jr. worth the play. And I'm going to say Brenton Strange is worth the play in this game because of what he's coming off of, because of Mac Jones targeting him, and because the Raiders are just awful. On the Raiders side, I like Brock Bowers. That's it. So, I mean, it is. You know, jokes aside, it is. I like Brock Bowers in that game. That's literally all I have for you. That game is going to be played in the mid-afternoon. San Francisco at Miami. Let me bring you San Francisco here. We did get a question that came in here. Tyreek Hill or... So, let me see here. Hugh, what are you asking me here? JT. There's a lot of JTs in the world. So, are you asking me Jonathan Taylor in flex? So, who is JT? Just so I can make sure to answer your question here. It is Jonathan Taylor. Okay, thanks, Hugh. Appreciate it. So, Tyreek Hill or Jonathan Taylor? That's a good question. San Francisco. Man, in the flex, Jonathan Taylor's coming off of a 100-yard game. So Tyreek Hill, that's a really good question. Looking at Tyreek Hill, he's leading the team with 805 yards this season. He's got 104 targets this season. Wow. Keep in mind, Tyreek Hill came from West Alabama, for those of you that think you can't make it from wherever you start. He had 115 yards 2 games ago against Houston most recently. 2 catches, 7 targets, 36 yards. So against a good team's defense, he disappeared. He's only had 2 100-yard games. One was the first game of the season. The other one was 2 games ago. He scored twice in the last 4 weeks, 4 times in the last 6 weeks. That's tough. My knee jerk will probably, I'm going to say Jonathan Taylor, Hugh. So I'm going to say, well, Hugh, make sure to subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. And then I would say Jonathan Taylor. Just because of the inconsistencies of Tyreek. Not that I don't think he's talented, but, you know, Jonathan Taylor you can just hand the ball off to, and they're playing Tennessee. So, and both of the teams are playing at home that you asked me about. So that's not a factor that I'm looking at here. San Francisco at Miami. Well, the San Francisco 49ers... like I said, have had a tumultuous season, but because they're in the worst division in football of the 8 divisions in the NFL, they still have a chance of making the playoffs, believe it or not, folks, which is a bright side for San Francisco, a team that's played in recent Super Bowls, including the most recent one. Brock Purdy is out there in this game. Brock Purdy, for me, most recently... Taking a look at where he sits at here. Had to take a drink during the show here. Been talking nonstop. So we look at Brock Purdy, 14-31, no catches or no touchdowns and an interception against the Rams in a game where they did not score a single touchdown. Isaac Guerrero, who I was asked about earlier, 16 carries, 57 yards, 3.6 yards a carry. George Kittle had 61 yards. Juwan Jennings had 31 yards. Guerrero caught all 4 thrown out of the backfield to him. Ricky Pearsall caught one of the 4 thrown his way for 16 yards. So Guerrero, if you want to put him as a running back, if you want to flex out Guerrero, I'm okay with that. Debo and Juwan Jennings. I mean, Brock Purdy is out there. George Kittle. I mean, I'm going to say George Kittle's still a tight end 1. I'm going to say Debo... I'm going to call him a 2. I'm going to call Juwan Jennings a 3 at wide receiver. I mean, I don't know if I trust Brock Purdy to win me a game to get me to my fantasy championship. Hugh said, okay, what about London and McLaurin? Do you trust them this week? My only other options would be Pickens or Tyreek. London and McLaurin. Well, Drake London is going up against the Giants with a rookie quarterback, and I think Michael Penix is going to have a good debut. I would probably stick with, but remember, every quarterback has their guy, so it's hard to really figure out if Drake London's going to be the guy. It could be Kyle Pitts. I would say stick with London and McLaurin, or go McLaurin and Tyreek Hill. But I would go McLaurin either way. For Miami, I like Tua. I like Devon Achane. I like Tyreek Hill in this game because they're playing San Francisco. I mean, he was asking me about specific for his team, but overall, I like Tyreek Hill in this matchup. I do. So, I mean, if you want to play it more safe, Hugh, then I would say McLaurin and Hill. If you want to roll the dice with Michael Penix, then I would say London and McLaurin. That's how I look at it. But I like Drake London this week, I like Tyreek Hill this week, and I like Terry McLaurin this week. We're going to take our final step aside here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub. Open 7 days a week, including all of your game days and all these NFL games. 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Go in there, let them know that DT sent you. You can also order takeout and delivery and let them know that DT told you to call. 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat. That's 315-487-2222. The next game coming up, Sunday Night Football, Tampa at Dallas. This used to look like a playoff game. Now it's a team that's been up and down but has more ups than downs against a team in Dallas that's just confused everybody. We'll discuss after this. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicollis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily, and we bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York is your one-stop sports card and trading card shop. You will find all different things at GG Cards and Breaks. If you've collected before or if you've never collected, it's the perfect place to go. If you've been collecting for years, you're going to find stuff that you don't have in your collection. You're going to find unique and awesome products that they're bringing in, packs and boxes to open, graded cards, one-of-ones potentially, rookie patch autos, aka RPAs. And if you've never collected before, well, you're going to walk in there and say, wow, I had no idea that I could have this much fun collecting this stuff and bringing it home and having it be a part of my studio, be a part of my bedroom. You know, growing up, I had those cards that I would put right there on my dresser. I had my Doug Flutie card, had some Michael Jordan stuff, had an Andy Van Slyke autograph from baseball. You never know what you're going to find at GG Cards and Breaks. Head over there today to 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. GG Cards and Breaks is the place to go. They have Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, Disney Lorcana, and more, including baseball, soccer, basketball, hockey, and football. All the good stuff. One-of-ones, awesome collection, autograph cards, and things that you wouldn't even think of. GG Cards and Breaks, the perfect place to get a gift for your loved ones today. We look forward to seeing you out there at 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and on Sundays from 10 to 5. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in our Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub. Week 16 of the 2024-25 NFL season. We got Sunday night and Monday night to do, and we're going to start with Sunday night football, and it is Tampa going up against the Dallas Cowboys. And if anybody doesn't like winning at home more than Dallas, let me know who they are. So the Dallas Cowboys just not having fun at home this season, which is sad, and hopefully they could turn the tide on that. The Dallas Cowboys not having a horrible season. They're 6-8, but Philadelphia is 12-2. That's, you know, you look at what Philly's been doing, what Washington's been doing at 9-5, and the Dallas Cowboys, they've tried to come on late. They've tried to do some things, but the Dallas Cowboys have struggled, 6-8 in this season, and the Dallas Cowboys finally won a game at home. That game was against the New York Football Giants, 27-20. You look at this season for the Cowboys at home, lost to the Saints, lost to the Ravens, lost to the Lions, lost to the Eagles, lost to the Texans, beat the Giants, lost to the Bengals, and now they're back at home to play up against the Buccaneers on December 22nd. Let's go to the Bucs first. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers making it happen. And so the Buccaneers this season They are trying to figure things out themselves. They're 8-6 right now, and they're in the division of the NFC South. And in the NFC South, they're in first place. Atlanta's 7-7, and they're making a change at quarterback because they still got a chance of making the playoffs, believe it or not. Kirk Cousins started out having to play a bunch of primetime games, playing on Sunday nights, playing on Monday nights. I think they played on Thursday night too. But the Atlanta Falcons, with that schedule, primetime, feet to the fire, go out there, be the only game on television at the time, and that's Kirk Cousins jump into Atlanta and being the Falcons starting quarterback. They're 7-7 though. They've struggled, and they're going to Michael Penix. They could make the playoffs with their rookie quarterback making a change this late in the season in week 16. New Orleans is 5-9. Carolina's 3-11 in that division of the NFC North. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have won 4 in a row after losing 4 in a row. They lost to the Ravens and the Falcons at home, the Chiefs on the road by 6 points, 30-24. And they lost to the Niners at home. Then they went on the road and beat the Giants, terrible team. Panthers on the road, terrible team. Raiders at home, terrible team. And at the Chargers, pretty good team. They beat that team 40-17. But keep in mind, J.K. Dobbins not out there for the Chargers, and he's had himself a good season this season. So not having him out there, that obviously affects things. Now, Bucky Irving, Rachaad White, Sean Tucker, they're all getting opportunities on the ground. The most recent game for Tampa Bay, 40-17 win. That whole team on the East Coast going to the West Coast, and the West Coast having the advantage, that's been falling away here in recent history, including in this game with Tampa, Florida, going out to Los Angeles, California, and taking down the Chargers. The Bucs do it 40-17 by 23 points. Bucky Irving, 15 carries, 117 yards, 7.8 yards a carry. Rachaad White, 15 carries, 64 yards, 4.3 yards a carry. Sean Tucker, 7 carries, 17 yards, 2.4 yards a carry. The team on the ground overall with Baker Mayfield's 2 for 25 carried the ball 39 times against the Chargers on the road to the tune of 223 rushing yards, 5.7 yards a carry. So that committee seems to be working out most recently here with Tampa. Baker Mayfield, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception on the road at the Chargers. Mike Evans, 9 catches, 11 targets, 159 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jalen McMillan, the youngster out of Washington, 5 catches on 6 targets, 1 of them being a touchdown. Rachaad White, 2 catches out of the backfield, 1 for a touchdown. So some good stuff coming from them there. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Cowboys. Who do I like in this game? I like Baker. Could have been a Cowboy, potentially, maybe. I like Baker. I like Mike Evans. Jalen McMillan, I'm going to call him a flex at a wide receiver 3. Bucky Irving and Rachaad White, I'm going to call them both running back 2s. And I'm going to call Sean Tucker a flex out. I'm going to call him a running back 4 this week. On the other side of it, for the Dallas Cowboys, I don't know what Dallas was thinking bringing back Zeke Elliott. I don't know what they were thinking giving Tony Pollard the job and then taking it away from him without, he had 2 years, I think, to rock and roll with that. I would have brought somebody in with Tony Pollard. I don't think I would have gotten rid of Tony Pollard. They just beat Carolina, though, 30-14. Carolina's an awful team. Rico Dowdle had 25 carries for 149 yards, 6 yards a carry in that game against Carolina. CeeDee Lamb, 9 catches, 13 targets, 116 yards and a touchdown. Brandon Cooks, 3 catches, 5 targets, 34 yards. Jalen Brooks had a touchdown. Jalen Tolbert had a touchdown. Both of the Jalens have been getting involved this year, but hard to lean on them as the guy. But remember, Cooper Rush, he's a backup quarterback, so he's going to go to some guys that you may not think about at the top of the roster here. I like CeeDee Lamb in this one. And, Rico Dowdle, they're playing Tampa, so I don't feel great about Rico. If you want to call him a low-end 2, high-end 3 at running back, but I do like CeeDee Lamb in this game. Jake Ferguson, I'm going to call him a mid-range. I'm going to call him a low-end tight end 1, high-end tight end 2 is where I'll have him in this. I think there's a lot of value in Tampa in this game. Dallas is trying to win their second game at home in Arlington, Texas at AT&T Stadium, which I love being at, by the way. Big time shout out to that. And the home of the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, which is now and forever will be, as far as the contracts go, if they continue inside of the college football playoff. This year they are one of the semifinals, so we will see whoever makes it out of the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic will be one of the 2 teams that will play for a national championship in the historic expanded 12-team college football playoff this season. Saints at the Packers. So the Saints, speaking of the Cowboys and the Saints scored 91 points in their first 2 weeks, and they probably would love to go back and spread those 91 points over a few other games there and help themselves out. The New Orleans Saints, they are 5-9 this season. They went on a losing streak that was pretty substantial. They lost 7 in a row. Then they won 3 of 4. They just lost 20-19 at home against the Commanders. But they did play a good team well in that case. Spencer Rattler, 10 of 21, my birthday. 135, a touchdown, no interceptions. Jake Hayner threw 4 of 10 for 49 yards, no touchdowns and an interception. So the 2 young guns out there. Kendre Miller, 9 carries, 46 yards. Alvin Kamara, 5 carries for 12 yards. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, 7 targets, caught 2. Kamara caught 4 of the 5 thrown his way, had a touchdown receiving. Foster Moreau, the tight end, caught 4 of 4 thrown his way, had a touchdown receiving. So, I mean, the New Orleans Saints, it's hard. I mean, Kamara, the thing about Kamara is he's good for PPR because you look at his yardage on the ground and you're like, ew, this past week. I mean, this guy was 5 for 12, 2.4 yards a carry. But he catches the ball out of the backfield. So if he is able to go, he's on the injury report right now. God willing, he'll be able to go. Groin injury, groin and hamstring, especially nagging the running backs and wide receivers in the NFL. Hopefully he'll be able to go. Hopefully he'll be healthy overall in general for his own wellness. And if we get to see Alvin Kamara out there, I think he's worth the play in this. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, I'm going to call him a low-end 2 in a deep league, a high-end 3 at wide receiver. Outside of that, for Green Bay, I mean, I don't really see a ton of fantasy numbers coming out of New Orleans outside of Kamara and maybe Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Outside of that, on Green Bay's side, playing at home, I like Jordan Love. I like Josh Jacobs. I like Jaden Reed. In this game, Romeo Doubs is also out there doing his thing. I wonder how long Christian Watson's going to be a Green Bay Packer with the drops that he's had. I hope that something catches on for him. I predicted that Green Bay should draft a receiver and had Christian Watson there out of North Dakota State, and they did, in fact, draft Christian Watson a couple of years ago. The drops and just not being a guy that they can really lean on, to me, I wonder if he's going to be there next season. But he did lead the team this past week, 30-13 in the win over the Seahawks on the road. 3 catches, 6 targets, 56 yards. Jacobs caught all 4 thrown to him out of the backfield. Romeo Doubs had 2 touchdowns on 3 catches. So, yeah, I like Romeo Doubs, as I mentioned. I like Doubs in this game. I like Jaden Reed. I like Josh Jacobs. I like Jordan Love in the matchup as well. I might look at Green Bay's defense and special teams because they're playing the Saints. And with that being said, that is my full analysis of Week 16, which for a lot of us here in the 2024-25 season, Week 16 has us in our semifinals for our fantasy football playoffs for our Central New York leagues here that are exclusively brought to you by the Wildcat Sports Pub, our league down in Orlando, and our Marywood league that we have for alumni. Lonely Stoner said to me, PPR start 2 running backs, 1 receiver. Spears, Miller, I'm guessing it's Kendre Miller. So Lonely Stoner, if you're on here, let me know if it's Kendre. Brian Robinson Jr., and then Jamison Williams, I'm guessing, and Terry McLaurin. PPR start 2 running back, 1 wide receiver. I would say Spears and B-Rob and Kendre Miller. Okay, so I would say Spears and B-Rob. Kendre Miller's playing on Monday night. That could give you some insurance. And Alvin's been banged up. So, but Tajay Spears has been involved out of the backfield. So I'm going to say Spears and B-Rob. And then as far as Jamison Williams or Terry McLaurin, I like McLaurin over Williams. That's what I would say. So, Lonely Stoner, let me make sure that if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. We appreciate you very much. McLaurin got 0 last time against the Eagles, so that has me nervous. Yeah, Terry McLaurin's also the guy that, I mean, he got nothing against the Eagles the last time they played. Are you in a PPR? Because Terry McLaurin, I want to go back and I want to look at that. Terry McLaurin in the first game against the Eagles should have gotten you something, I would imagine. Let me go back and see that. The loss 26-18. Terry McLaurin had 1 catch for 10 yards. So, yeah, should have got you a point, I guess. Yeah. Had 3 points. Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, I think Terry will, I mean, he should be getting involved in this thing. Keep in mind, Austin Eckler was playing at the time for Washington. So, I mean, I still like Terry McLaurin. Yeah, he had 1 catch. So, make sure you subscribe here for Lonely Stoner. And to everybody that's watching, listening, make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet at Wake Up Call DT on YouTube. You can also find us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X, the former Twitter, at Call DT, and on Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. Lonely Stoner said Strange or Kraft. Good question. I like Strange this week because they're playing the Raiders, and he's coming off of a big game, and he's done some other things this season. So I like Strange for you, Stoner. And then I'm Just Here 8 said need some help. Start 2. Brees, Kamara, Kyron, and Guerrero. Good question. Definitely good question. I'm Just Here. And make sure for yourself as well to subscribe if you haven't yet. So, start 2. Brees, Kamara, Kyron. Well, definitely Kyron Williams. Brees is playing LA. Okay. Guerrero. I don't feel bad about Guerrero, but I don't feel great about Guerrero. And Kamara's been banged up. He's playing on Monday night, so he's got some extra time to get better. I'm Just Here. I would say Kyron and Brees, or Kyron and Kamara if Kamara is good to go. So Kyron and Brees, but I can see a world with Kyron and Kamara. But I do like Kyron Williams either way. With that being said, the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, Week 16 of the 2024-25 season. For a lot of us, the semifinals of our Fantasy Football League playoffs. And if you're in my league and you win, you get a Lombardi. So let me show you what that looks like. You get one of these bad boys that looks like the Lombardi that you get inside of the NFL. It's just smaller, and it has your name here. It has your name, the name of your team, and also the league that you were in, the fact that you're a champion, the year that you were the champion, and my logo as well. So I won in 2020. I got one of the COVID trophies. How about that? So, and I think I got another one coming to me. I'm a 3-time. I think I got another one from this year. So 4-time fantasy football champion, I believe. I know I'm a 3-time fantasy football champion. So make sure that you send in your questions to us, and we appreciate it. Derek has a question. I'm Just Here said, thanks. You're welcome. Derek's got a question. Let's see here. Question for next year. Would you rather keep Trey McBride, 8th round keeper tag, or Bucky Irving, 17th round tag? My other keepers are CeeDee Lamb and Brian Thomas Jr. Well, I'd definitely keep those guys. I would have to trade McBride for Bucky. I'd keep McBride. Because Bucky's in a 3 system there for Tampa. So I'd probably just keep McBride. Thank you for the question, though, to Derek. And Derek, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do. We appreciate you being here with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. You are welcome, sir. A salute back to you. and make sure to hit that subscribe and notification bell. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora brings you fantasy football advice all throughout the season. We have been traveling a little bit this season, so I apologize for not giving you every week as we had planned. That will not happen from here on out. You will have us all the way through. And, of course, for daily fantasy as well, we'll be talking through the postseason here on Wake Up Call. We talk about the NFL with Papa Joe every week as well, so we'll be doing that tomorrow, predicting who's going to win each of these games that you see to my right. So make sure to follow closely for NFL coverage all throughout the season and even out of season here on Wake Up Call. We are Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. Make sure you tune in. And, of course, once the shows go live, they hop into the archive, like this one will, on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you got to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Click subscribe and click follow. It is free to do that on those channels. And, of course, many thanks to our Brooklyn Pickle down in Southern Pines. Brooklyn Pickle, 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, just a few minutes from Pinehurst Golf Course. You'll find them in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Please go down there and enjoy what we enjoy so much up here in New York. Brooklyn Pickle has gone from New York to North Carolina, and we want you to know what it's like to have our favorite sandwich shop down there in North Carolina. Go and get some today at 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Our partners here in Central and Upstate New York, Carvel DeWitt, where I have my own Sunday, and ode to the Lemoyne College Dolphins. You can get the DT Dolphins Sunday today by going right down the road from Lemoyne College to 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York. It is available 7 days a week, but on Wednesdays it's buy one, get one. So you can get 2 Dolphins for the price of one. That's right, baby. Mint chocolate chip ice cream, green for the Dolphins, whipped cream and a cherry, hot fudge, green and gold sprinkles, and a chocolate Dolphin jumping out of your whipped cream. There's nothing like the DT Dolphin, and there's no place that has it except for Carvel DeWitt. Go and get it today. Wednesdays are buy one, get one free at the wonderful Carvel DeWitt, 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York. The Wildcat Sports Pub, Servo-Mation, reinventing, reinvigorating, and just giving us so many awesome things technology-wise, food quality-wise, food choice-wise. I never knew that vending could actually be good. I thought it was just a tuna sandwich spinning around and around for months. Nope. At Servo-Mation, they do things differently. And you can find out what I mean by going to servomation.com and finding out how they can be at your school, your college, your university, your place of business, or anywhere that you have vending. Go to servomation.com for more information. Mother's Cupboard, the home of my sandwich that is available 7 days a week. It is called the Cuse Mac Mother, and it is Mactastic, baby. You can go and get the Cuse Mac Mother today at Mother's Cupboard and any day of the week, 3709 James Street in Syracuse, New York. It is bacon, egg, and cheese inside of 2 pieces of French toast. Pick it up and eat it like a sandwich. Cut it up and have it with some syrup today. Avicoli's, Canine Camp Dog Daycare. Ma and Pa's, the snack capital of the world. Half-price tins, perfect gift for the holiday season. Go to maandpaspopcorn.com if you're out of town, or go to 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York if you're in town, to Ma and Pa's, and let them know that Wake Up Call sent you. Or you can just say DT sent me. Pizza Man, where we're going to be tomorrow night previewing the college football playoff and Syracuse's Holiday Bowl with Al Romano and Cookie. Can't wait to see you out there at Pizza Man, 50 Oswego Street, Baldwinsville, New York, this Thursday, December 19th at 6 p.m. K9 Campground Dog Boarding, GG Cards and Breaks, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Great Lakes Honda City, Bryan's Landing, and of course we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It's fins up every single month on Wake Up Call. You will find your Dolphins during Dolphin Time Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Find your Dolphins right here on Wake Up Call with student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni joining me where sports meets life here on Wake Up Call. You could find our archive of all of our Dolphin coverage over 3 years of videos on youtube.com/WakeUpCallDT. Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and of course, find the Lemoyne playlist. You can also find the Dolphins on WakeUpCallDT.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to LemoyneDolphins.com and fins up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bobcats every single month, including our awesome exclusive on campus at Bryan and Stratton College coming up next week with the unforgettable Alex Grigorita, the Bryan and Stratton College women's soccer head coach, who just went to his 4th national championship game in a row, and they have won a national championship in 2021, and they have played for 4 straight under Alex Grigorita at Bryan and Stratton for women's soccer here in Syracuse for the Bobcats. You can find all of our Bobcat buzz by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, find our BSC Syracuse playlist. You'll also find the Bobcats by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bearcats every single month and what we like to call Bearcat Time. Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. You will find them every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Moments with Marshall with Gene Marshall, featuring the Binghamton University Athletics Director and a behind-the-scenes look throughout the year at Binghamton. And, of course, the Bearcat Break Room with student-athletes, coaches, and administration telling their stories throughout the year and their journey to Binghamton, what Binghamton means to them, and all of the wonderful things that make them individually part of the greater fabric of the Bearcat family. The Bearcat Break Room, I'm very excited to bring you more of those this week. Under promise, over deliver, because your boy is going to be on site, and I hope you will too. Tonight, we got a doubleheader in the Southern Tier down in Binghamton, an hour from Syracuse, just south on Interstate 81. Head down to Binghamton tonight. We have the men's basketball team taking on Mercyhurst at 5 p.m. and then at approximately 7:30 p.m. to follow, the Binghamton women's basketball team will take on Syracuse University. And I will be there for both. Can't wait to be there. Can't wait to see you. Looking forward to having some fun. And you can find all of our Bearcat content by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, find the Binghamton playlist, and of course you can find the Bearcats on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to binghamtonbearcats.com. With that being said, I want to thank Phil Brown for hour number 1. I want to thank all of y'all for the many hours we put in here for fantasy football. I hope we helped you out. I hope we gave you what you needed here. I hope the best for you all. Fantasy football for everybody in the Central New York leagues, as well as the Orlando League that we have, and to everyone in our Marywood University Alumni League. I want to hope for you the best, and thank you all for joining our leagues every single year. So let me show some love here right now and let y'all know, to everybody that we got out there in our league, our Captains on Call league that is exclusively at the Wildcat Sports Pub. Let me give a shout out to Zach, to Joe A, I should say, to Pete, to Nick, as well as to Phil, to Anthony, to Curtis, to Colby, and to Macaulay. Big time shout out to every single one of you. Playing for our championship, we have Curtis going up against Phil. Phil's the 1 seed, Curtis is the 4, and Zach, the 2 seed, going up against the 6 seed, Joe, playing for our championship in fantasy in the Captains on Call League here in Central New York that calls the Wildcat Sports Pub home. Shout out once again to Phil and Curtis, Zach and Joe, playing for a championship in the Captains on Call Central New York League. Our other league that we have here in Central New York at the Wildcat exclusively, the Gridiron Gurus, I want to give a big time shout out to everyone who is in this league. So many thanks to Mark W., to Paul, as well as to Aaron, to Becky, to Lisa, to Carissa, as well as Bill, to Paul's son. Big time shout out to Paul's son, as well as to Johnny for being in this league, playing for the championship. I want to give a shout out in our Gridiron Gurus Central New York League that calls Wildcat home to Mark, who's the 5 seed, playing 8-seeded Aaron, and to the 2-seeded Lisa, playing 6-seeded Johnny. The number 1 seed did not make it out of here. Who was the number 1 seed? That was me. Uncle Pat's Bandits. I got beat by Aaron. Rude, disrespectful, whatever. So much. Congratulations to them. And I hope you all do well and have fun. To our Orlando League, want to give our shout outs to everyone in that league, to Eric, to Stefan, to Rick, as well as Mark, Jason, and to Kellen, and to my big brother Joey for all being a part of that league. Fighting for the championship this year is going to be the number 1 seed, Mark, against the 4 seeded Eric, and the number 2 seed is me, my team, going up against my buddy, the 3 seed, Jason. We're all fighting for the rights to play in the championship game down in the Florida League this weekend, starting tomorrow for Thursday Night Football. And in the Marywood Alumni League, I want to give a shout out to everyone in that league. So many thanks to Matt, to Brandon, to Brendan, to Joe, as well as to Lawrence, to John, and to Ross. I am in that league's Final Four, and so playing for the championship, my number 1 seeded team will be going up against Matt's 4 seed, and we have Brendan's 2 seed going up against the 3 seed for Lawrence. So this is the only league where the top 4 seeds made it to the semifinal round. So we'll see what happens here. My best to you all. Thanks for joining us for fantasy football. Thanks for joining my leagues. Thanks for joining the show. For now, from Wake Up Call and this Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub exclusively. Find us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. And as always, God bless, no stress, do your best. Have a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves and stay